Welcome to the Scene Podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Scene Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Borak. So excited to be here again for another episode. I'm joined by my good friend, my editor, my producer, my all-around podcast enthusiast extraordinaire, KJ. KJ, how you doing?
Enthusiast. That's a new one. What's going on, Justin? I'm just a guy who loves theater, who loves radio, and has found a way to merge them together.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, we have a wonderful episode for all of you today. So let's get right into it. KJ, let's get to the first segment.
Shows you should know.
All right, it's time for Shows You Should Know, the segment where I get to do my favorite thing in the world, tell you all about plays and musicals you might not have heard of but need to consume ASAP. Let's get into it. I have 3 plays for you guys that I'm very excited about, okay? The first one is Exception to the Rule by Dave Harris. How do you make it through detention? In the worst high school in the city, 6 black students are stuck in room 111. They flirt, they fight, they tease. Should they follow the rules and stay put or find an escape? Are the walls keeping them in, or are stronger forces at play? Now, I love contemporary plays set in a high school, especially ones that feel like the text is actually what you would hear in this high school. This play is hilarious, it's moving, it's so relatable, and if you're a young black actor or an educator with students who fit these characters, use this play for scenes and monologues. You don't often get contemporary theater that is good and relatable for high school students. And this is it. I think this is some text that is perfect. It is relatively inappropriate for high schools to perform publicly with language and stuff like that, but it's brilliant text, it's an amazing story, and it's something that I think a lot of high schools could do maybe in the classroom with approval. I think it's also great for colleges. I think it's also great for regional theaters. Exception to the Rule by Dave Harris. Check that one out. Next one, this is one that I've been trying to read for a long time. I got sent it by a friend of mine, and I'm so excited. Continuity by Bess Wohl. It's magic hour in the New Mexico desert as an exhausted film crew races against the setting sun to shoot their blockbuster but artsy action film, which takes place on an artistic styrofoam ice floe and features an eco-terrorist plotting a bombing mission to save all of humankind, supposedly. As the clock ticks and the desert sun beats down on the not-so-frozen landscape, personalities clash, artistic vision meets Hollywood demands, and the gap between fiction and science grows wider than ever. A dark but hilarious play in 6 takes, Continuity interrogates the role of storytelling in a world on the brink of an actual environmental crisis. Okay, things I love. The play in 6 takes thing is great. I think that's very funny. The entire character of the PA is awesome, and I think it's wonderful. The character of the PA, he's never given a name, and he basically is just trying to, like, I forget what the exact character description is, but it's something along the lines of, this character's goal in the play is to make everyone's lives better and never be noticed for it. Which, if you ever been on a film set, that's very much what a PA does, but it's a very funny, like, role to write into this play. And also, I think the subtle thesis of environmentalism underneath all the Hollywood hilarity is very funny. Bess Wohl is great at satire. Bess Wohl is great at making you think one play is about one thing when really it's about the other. If you want an even better example, I don't even know if it's published yet, but check out Camp Siegfried, Bess Wohl's newest play, and it's very much, you think it's one thing, and then you think it's another thing. And this is very much like that. It's very much a Hollywood movie comedy with these things underneath that you don't understand really as the reader, that, like, these things in the movie actually matter. It's not just this, like, fake movie that they're making. It's this, like, true environmentalist plot that Bess Wohl created, that I think is really dope. An awesome play, not done enough by far. Bess Wohl is one of my favorite playwrights in the world. And yeah, Continuity by Bess Wohl. The last one I want to talk about, Describe the Night by Rajiv Joseph. In 1920, the Russian writer Isaac Babel is a war correspondent with the Red Cavalry. 70 years later, a mysterious agent spies on a woman in Dresden and falls in love. In 2010, an aircraft carrying most of the Polish government crashes in a Russian city. Set in Russia and East Germany over the course of 90 years, this thrilling and epic play traces the story of 7 people connected by history, myth, and conspiracy theories. Okay, do you love lore? Do you love history? This is somehow nothing like National Treasure, but the same energy. I'm a huge Rajiv Joseph fan. I think Rajiv Joseph might be one of the best two-person scene writers alive. Examples, King James, Animals Out of Paper, Gruesome Playground Injuries. And this does that and still highlights that in an amazing way, while also being maybe his most epic play, I think. I think it's really, really hard to write a play that spans so much time and tells such a large, epic story, especially from a playwright known for writing I don't want to say so small because that sounds small, but so small. Rajiv Joseph is so smart at writing these like intricate, beautiful two-person relationships on the stage, and he takes that and brings it into an epic play. So if you are a Rajiv Joseph fan, but you want to do something a little bit bigger, Describe the Night is a perfect example. It also is chock full of those two-person scenes, and it's less pulled from, I think, because it's not a two-person play like a lot of other Rajiv Joseph plays are, or like three-person or whatever. So Describe the Night by Rajiv Joseph, Continuity by Bess Wohl, and Exception to the Rule by Dave Harris. 3 plays that I recently read, and I am very, very happy I did. Boom. Shows you should know.
Theater in a minute.
That's right. It's time for Theater in a Minute, the segment where I explain something from theater past, present, or future as quickly as my brain lets me. Today's topic is very important to me, Moliere. So KJ, let's get to it. Start the clock in 3, 2, 1. Moliere, born Jean-Baptiste on January 15, 1962 in Paris, France, was a renowned French playwright, actor, director, right? Okay. So Moliere was born in a incredibly rich and well-off family. He went to college and I want you also to know, usually I write a little bio out in Microsoft Word or something. I'm shooting off the dome because this is important to me, because I'm currently writing my thesis in graduate school on Moliere. So let's see how good I do. I really hope the head of my committee isn't listening. Okay, so the dude was born in France to a very affluent family, right? He went to college, he did all this stuff, and he didn't really have to work that hard for his success. He was basically set up to become a noble in France. That's what his life was going to be. He meets a lady named Madeleine Bajart, and she is an artist. And he's like, oh, shoot, I'm going to be an artist too. I mean, that's literally how it happened. He leaves his family, he leaves his job, he puts all of his law that he studied, his legal career behind, and he goes to create theater. They go to Paris, the entire Bajart family, and their small theater troupe. They go to Paris and they basically go into financial struggle twice, and Moliere gets imprisoned twice because he's also keeping their books, because he's the only one of the entire theater troupe who went to college, even though he left halfway through. And and they decide, maybe it'll be easier to tour around Europe with our theater, right? Because then we can run away from our problems. So they tour around for 10 years, and then King Louis hears about them 10 years later. It's during the Fronde, which is a time when basically King Louis was this incredibly young kid because the king dies, and he hears about Moliere's theater troupe and is like, yo, come to the Louvre and play in this arts festival that I'm putting together. They come, they do this show, and King Louis loves Moliere's play specifically. And from there on out, Moliere's theater troupe gets treated like the cream of the crop because one person is a fan of theirs, King Louis. So because he has this power, the King Louis loves his work, Moliere is one of the first people in the world who feels comfortable writing satirical theater, writing satirical comedy. He's one of the original harbingers of satirical comedy. In 1958, he's writing Tartuffe, The Misanthrope, School of Wives, The Imaginary Invalid, all of these plays that had so many people look at Moliere as this awful dude, because everyone who was coming to his shows were in the affluent French oligarchy, were in the wealthy elite, and he was writing these plays ripping on the wealthy elite of France at the time. It's a brilliant thing that only an incredibly young king who is always going to be in your corner will will like allow you to do. So Moliere got to do whatever he wanted. He wrote all of this like great satirical stuff. I think he built the bridge to satirical comedy today, to what we see on SNL, to what we see from Tracy Letts, The Minutes just recently on Broadway. All of that stuff, I think, is because Moliere was given the opportunity to take satirical comedy and put it on the stage. This is so much longer than a minute. I don't care. He basically got to do whatever he wanted this whole time in France because King Louis liked him. That was it. And he wrote some of the most controversial satirical comedy on like religious and societal norms ever. It's great. It's so good. Also, he's one of the most dramatic people in the world. I'm going to stop talking because I'm writing 50 pages on this. So if you have an interest in Moliere, hit me up and I'll send you my thesis so you can read it. But I do want to say the way he died was the most dramatic death in the world. Okay. It was during a production of The Imaginary Invalid on February 17th, 1673. I could totally be wrong, okay? He collapses on stage early in the performance of Imaginary Invalid, right? He contracts tuberculosis one of those times that he's in jail early on in his career. So he collapses on stage, and he gets up, and he goes, no, we can't stop the show. The show must go on. And he keeps on going for like 3 more acts till he collapses again and can't get up. And they bring him home and he passes away a few hours later. He literally created the term, basically, the show must go on accident. It's bananas. Moliere is one of the coolest old French dudes in the world. Go read The Misanthrope. I ended up loving it, even though in my head I thought I was going to hate it. It's a French play that rhymes for 90 minutes. And I loved it. It's brilliant. That's Moliere.
That's theater.
All right. I'm excited to do a segment of That's Theater, the segment where I kind of just talk about stuff, I guess. I don't really know if these guys fit into a That's Theater segment, but it makes sense because I would like to talk about them. I'll explain. Today we're talking about Team StarKid, or StarKid Productions. If you don't know who they are, they're a musical theater company founded in 2009 at University of Michigan by Darren Criss, Brian Holden, Matt, and Nick Lang. Okay? They're originally known for their first huge success, which is a Harry Potter musical. It was a parody of Harry Potter. It came out in, I think it was 2009 or 2010, and it was huge. It was massive, and it was right when I was loving musical theater. So it was huge for me. It was amazing. It was kind of like a connection between sketch comedy and musical theater that no one really saw. It was taking parodies so serious that they were funny but also had true story and heart and great. I love them so much, and I love talking about them because obviously StarKid has had this huge rise to fame, especially with Darren Criss's rise to popularity as just an actor on his own. But their story is so cool. They all met while collaborating through a company called Basement Arts, which is a university student-run theater organization at University of Michigan. And all of these people who were at one of the best musical theater schools in the world were we want to do something for ourselves. We want to do something that is not just with the school, which here's the thing. I'm in grad school right now. A lot of people listening to this are either teachers, or they're going to be thinking about going to college soon, or they went to college and they know exactly what I'm going through. There are so many moments where I look at my main stage season or something like that, and I'm like, man, that's really cool, but I wish I could pick something to do. You know what I mean? I wish I could have a little bit more control, or I wish I could make something. And I get to do that from time to time, whether it's writing a new play, or it's helping produce a new work that an undergrad made or something here at West Virginia University. But you never get to see people do these full, huge projects at the level of StarKid and what they were doing. So all these people came together, these actors, these writers, these directors, and they were let's make something together. And they made this musical, and they recorded it on YouTube, and it was a simple, chill thing, and it exploded. It was honestly one of the first companies that grew from viral fame. So many companies now grow from you get a couple viral videos, and then you have enough eyes on your product or your company or whatever that you're able to build it into something real. You see podcasts doing that, you see companies doing that. They were the first theater company to use viral social media fame as a catalyst for a true creation of a theater company. It's so cool. Their story, which I think is wonderful, a Harry Potter musical to a Harry Potter sequel. They did a show called Me and My D Word,
It's very, very funny, I swear. Starship, which was a parody of The Little Mermaid and Starship Troopers, the movie. They did Wholly Musical Batman. They did Twisted, which was kind of a take on Wicked, but if Jafar was Elphaba. Awesome. Annie, a parody. It's a Star Wars one. They have the Oregon Trail. They have Firebringer. The guy, and then, okay, ready for this? So they spend their time in Michigan. And then they moved to Chicago and they start doing work in Chicago, which is so smart and cool. The sketch comedy capital of the world. Being a comedian from Chicago, I love it very much there. So it was so rad to see that. But then they moved to LA. And in LA, they start something called the Hatchetfield Saga, which is they all basically realize, we've grown out of these parodies. They still love doing parodies, I'm sure, but they've grown out of these parodies and now they're like, what do we do next? And they bring horror to the stage, horror comedies in these like really, really wonderful, brilliant ways. The Hatchetfield Saga is my favorite thing that they've ever made. It's all set in one town in Michigan, and it's where the creepiest and weirdest stuff happened. The guy who doesn't love musicals is a sci-fi. Black Friday is like, well, I guess it's another sci-fi, but it's like this, everyone's in there trying to get this toy for Black Friday, and this toy is like taking over people's brains. Nerdy Prudes Must Die is a great slasher that I loved so much. It just came out. In this segment of, what did I even say this was? Just Theater? Or this is, That's Theater? Sorry, I was trying to decide if this was going to be a Justin chatting or if this is a That's Theater. But I thought it was a That's Theater because StarKid Productions, I'm sure everyone has heard the name, right? If you're a teacher and you're, 35 or older, maybe you weren't of the age when it was coming out where it was popular for you, but you've heard students talk about it. If you're a younger, like high school student or something like that, maybe you've heard your older brother, your older sister, or people who you are looking to go to college with talk about it. I'm right in that age range where StarKid Productions was really, really important to me in my musical theater upbringing. But on top of that, I think it's so important to look at when you look at marketing in theater. They put their stuff online for free with no intentions, and they exploded. And now all they do are use Kickstarter and use YouTube and stuff like that to put their stuff up, and they're constantly still putting up projects. Still to this day, Nerdy Prudes Must Die came out like 3 months ago. A couple people from the group made a new group called Tin Can Bros. They're doing a whole world tour this year. They are doing some of the coolest stuff in the world. So I wanted to use this segment to shout out StarKid Productions. I think they're wonderful, and I think they do some of the coolest stuff ever. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to let everyone know, if you didn't know, StarKid is awesome, and you can basically watch all their musicals for free on YouTube. So if you're also in a place where you want to maybe start showing your kids how to make art themselves, if you're like, I've taught them musical theater history, or they know Hello Dolly, they know She Loves Me, they know these things, what's the next thing I can do? If you have a creative bunch of kids, show them StarKid. I will say, it can sometimes be pretty inappropriate. I would say it's rated R, maybe a high PG-13 level, but it is, I think, the pinnacle of friends getting together and making theater, which personally I think is one of the most important things people can do. And that's our show. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Scene Podcast. Follow me on Instagram at Justin Borak, or TikTok for more theater content at Mediocre Jokes. Check out our newsletter, The Scene. If you are not subscribed to the newsletter, that's bananas. Go check that out. I want to thank the entire team over at The Scene. I love how that rhymes every time. I want to thank Leah, the newest person to our team, who is like helping us put together some interviews. They're going to be very, very fun. Get excited. We have crazy interviews coming up in a couple episodes. I am so excited for you all to hear these. It's going to be very, very cool. Of course, I want to thank KJ, the brilliant producer, editor behind the show. Thank you so much, KJ, for being the best. Yeah, and again, make sure you guys are listening to the newsletter. Make sure you're going to see theater, and let us know what theater you are seeing, because I'm always just a very big theater nerd and interested in hearing what that is. And I will leave you all the way I leave you all every episode, by saying the 2 words that every theater teacher hates hearing but always will hear. And scene. See you next time.
The Scene Podcast is made possible by our host Justin Borak, our producer and editor KJ Lampar, and our executive producer Zach Dulli.
Don't forget to follow the show wherever you get your podcasts to stay up to date with our latest theater antics. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you again next time.